Okay, Troy, we are live on Facebook.
All right.
Thank you very much for being with me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is Bob Ferguson. If you wandered into another episode of Life with Bob, and tonight my guest is Troy Van Beek, CEO of Ideal Energy here in Fairfield, Iowa. And Troy has a really quite remarkable background and is doing really remarkable work in renewable energy and bringing in a new paradigm of energy. So, Troy, again, thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm pleased to be on.
Great. So let's start with the big picture. Let's give everyone a sense of your background, where you came from and how you came to being so passionate about energy and specifically kind of the democratization of energy.
Oh, I would probably start that I'm a Midwestern boy.
Good, good. Point in your favor. Point in your
Yeah.
favor.
Which was always a great thing to throw out. You know, when you're out there looking for employment, you know, it's that Midwestern hardworking values. I always appreciated throwing that out because it was always a great response. You know, I think it really encouraged a hardworking ethic. You know,
Yeah.
just as you're entering the job market and all. But it also, I joined the military. I spent a total of 13 years, 12, almost 13 years in military and paramilitary activity around the world. So I was in with the Navy SEAL teams for 9 years. And then I worked in Afghanistan as in private security, protecting Hamid Karzai through the Department of State. But did that for a number of years until I started a security company in Africa. So I think having spent so much time traveling around the world gave me a really fantastic perspective about just the different opportunities that are out there, you know, or lack thereof. Yeah. And, you know, and of course we were out there, you know, as warring efforts a lot of the times, and you start to learn who has and who doesn't have the things that are needed. And I guess it just kind of built up a philosophy after a while that it was a scarcity and abundance philosophy that I think I was kind of building up through my time in the military, and finally allowed me to move back to Fairfield, Iowa, back to the Midwest, get a degree in sustainability, and then really engage into that idea that we can attain this abundance. And that's what's really kind of melded my opportunities as I graduated, started an energy efficiency company, which quickly migrated into a renewable energy company. So we're a solar design and installation firm. That's Ideal Energy is what I currently do. And it embodies my passion for the world security as I held within the military, and the work that I did through the Department of State. We were there to protect those that were trying to build their nation a lot of the times. So I was always very proud of the work that we did in the military, but being able to take that back to the United States, build a renewable energy company, and still feel like I'm engaged in that mentality. You know, we're building an amazing team in Ideal Energy, but also we're doing the world repair work, the world security. And it just makes me very proud to be engaged in this operation.
It's really profound, Troy. I've heard you speak many times. You spoke at the Sustainable Living Coalition out at the Eco Barn at one of our potluck and community discussions. And one of the themes that you really developed one time was the whole idea of energy poverty, and the fact that you've seen war and all of the tragedy embodied in that up close and personal. And you made the point that most conflict, if not all human conflict, is around a sense of scarcity, real scarcity or perceived scarcity. And the whole idea that if we could drive down the cost and bring up the availability of energy, a large percentage of the conflict in the world would resolve itself. And so I'd love you to just kind of spend a little bit more time at the high level, kind of the geopolitical level of what you've seen and why this whole move to renewable energy and move to energy that doesn't cost anything for unit, for the fuel, once you get the infrastructure set up, how critically important that is for world peace, actually.
Yeah, you hit it pretty well. It's that, when you find yourself at war, it's usually somebody wanting something that someone else has, right? So it's a matter of scarcity when you have to fight for those basics, and I think that what I've come to realize is that through renewables that we can create that abundance of energy, and energy in itself is oftentimes what we find ourselves in conflict over. You can see it going on over the world. It's been the great driver for many world wars, and right now the technology is here that we can actually create this abundance of energy. It's renewable. I mean, that's the baseline to our company is it's renewable energy, and there's so much energy falling on the planet's surface every moment, every day. And if we just scrape a fraction of that, we can create that abundance in energy. And of course, energy is how we produce our goods, our manufacturing, and we're moving into this age of abundance because we're learning to manufacture these goods and services. There's more automation in everything that we do, from building our vehicles to everything that we're building, but also the transportation industry. We're electrifying our transportation industry. So when we begin to manufacture our goods and services through renewable energy, and we do this on a consistent basis now with our customers, we bring them to a net zero in their energy costs. But when we can manufacture those goods and services for ever reducing cost, and then we can transport those goods and services through automated transportation, through renewable energy, we're reducing the cost of transportation. We're driving consistently that cost of those goods and services closer to zero. And that gets really interesting, because when we can move those goods and services around the world through our country and beyond our borders, then really, why do we need the borders anymore? Once we grasp that capability of the transportation of the goods and services, the areas that they're produced really well to the areas that they're not, right, then we really take away that scarcity in general. And I believe that has the potential to drastically reduce the need for war. And so clearly it's a driving force that should be a driving force for all of us, is to really embrace that opportunity to reduce the cost of energy and embrace that technology, that automation.
So I think some people, Troy, still feel like, well, renewable energy isn't real. I mean, oil and gas is real, or coal is real. Talk to us a little bit about exactly how real renewable energy is. What's happening in the world of renewable energy? For instance, development of jobs versus the fossil fuel industry. What's happening now? What's not projected in the future? What's happening just right now?
Oh, there is literally millions of jobs that are being created in the renewable energy industry. And before our last administration, we had already seen coal basically being all but shut down. And for good reason. It's highly pollutant, and the jobs are dwindling. People don't want to work in that type of field. And we're building renewable energy jobs that are clean, vibrant jobs in modern day technology. So I think we didn't move out of the Stone Age because we ran out of rocks. There's technologies available to us. And I think that Elon Musk has been quoted saying that if we just solarized 100 miles by 100 miles, like that's the area that would take to solarize the entire nation. So I think people used to say that, well, solar's not believable because, well, when the sun's not shining, where are we going to get that energy? Well, we've moved beyond that with the advent of storage, and there's a multitude of different types of storage that are becoming available to us. And of course, it's a $1 trillion industry, which means there's jobs to be created in this new technology. The cars that are being created that are put on the road, Tesla is a great example.
Right.
It's those batteries, that lithium ion battery that's being driven into the market, literally driven into the market,
Literally.
literally, is the same batteries that we're utilizing for storage for solar. So you can't say that, well, when the sun goes away, so does your solar energy. We're learning how to produce it better, more efficiently, and store it more efficiently, and at an ever reducing cost. And you can't say that about fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are only getting more expensive to extract, and more expensive on the environment. Where we're doing that extremely well and more efficiently and at a lower cost continuously. And now for several years, we've bypassed the mean level cost for renewables, beating out that mean level cost for fossil fuels without subsidies. So we passed that mark several years ago now.
Wow, that's something I bet not a whole lot of people really are aware of. I think and many people say, well, yeah, but all these subsidies. Well, of course, we're not talking about the tens of billions of dollars of subsidies that still go to the fossil fuel industry, even as a completely mature and even declining industry. But so talk to us a little bit about that. You know, so that because I wasn't even aware that tipping point had happened. I knew we were close, and I knew that in some instances, particularly in wind, you know, the levelized cost was dramatically, you know, lower. But so talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's such an exciting field that we're in. You know, Ideal Energy has actually always tried to remain on the cutting edge of technology. We offer our opportunities to do the research and advance that technology. And as far as Ideal Energy is concerned, I often am probably quoted saying, you know, they'll put us in a box and we'll design our way out. You know, that's our mentality. Every obstacle is an opportunity, right?
Yep.
So,
well, spoken as a true Navy SEAL, right?
well, you almost have to be to be in this industry, because it's not easy to take on the energy companies. You know, they're not inspired to make this easy for us. You know, because they've held on to a monopoly for a very long time, you know, over 100 years, and it's worked out really well for them, and they're happy with that return. But we know that if we open this market up to the new technology, which is absolutely a necessity, make the technology available to this market, then the evolution and revolution occurs. So Ideal Energy has tried to push that boundary. You know, we have partnered with the state of Iowa to actually be on the Battery Energy Storage Committee, and you know, and then do research in battery energy storage for the state. Now we're actually doing research for hydrogen energy storage. So you probably haven't even heard of really what's going on in the hydrogen industry. It came on really big with Bush Jr., the administration, and then 9/11 hit, and it really got sidelined. And it really kind of just got lost in that, and we got busy. But hydrogen is really making a big comeback, and it's happening all over the world. So
talk to us about that. I mean, a battery, it's a little bit easier to conceive, although I don't think we can actually conceive. And we'll loop back into talking about the big project you did here at the university and maybe some of the other stuff that you can talk about. But talk to us about hydrogen. How does that work as a storage mechanism?
So hydrogen is really interesting. It's got all kinds of potential applications. It is consistently being utilized in a myriad of different applications, but it's also one of the most carbon intensive manufacturing processes to produce hydrogen. So it accounts for a considerable amount of carbon into our atmosphere, because it's made through a process called steam methane reform. And the real advancement, which is what we're starting to envision, is the low cost of renewable energy. So the cost of renewables keeps getting lower and lower. And when we can take the water molecules and split them, you know, your oxygen and your hydrogen, and you know, we have oxygen in one container and hydrogen in another, and we can utilize those resources just by splitting them with a low cost energy. Now that hydrogen is a really valuable source for all the myriad of different manufacturing opportunities to include semiconductors and petroleum refining, and also metal refining, and just tons of applications that I won't list out, but lots of applications for it. And also the reason that we brought attention to it in Iowa is because of the farming. So if you take hydrogen and then add in nitrogen, which is 80% of our air, a very readable, available resource to us, you can add that nitrogen in and we get ammonia. So now it's a resource not only for all the manufacturing, but then for the farming, for fertilizing. And that's not to mention the value that it has as an energy storage for storing that long-term energy value and then turning it back into electricity through, let's say, fuel cell. So we can then turn that back into electricity, and it can stay just like you would propane tanks, for very long terms, where you might not have that, or you don't have that with batteries. They can only stay fully charged for so long. And so there's just a myriad of opportunities with hydrogen. And right now, lithium has its value, especially with automobiles. But when you get up into heavy machinery, like semis, hydrogen really kind of eclipses the lithium. So there's a company out there called Nikola, and they're really embracing hydrogen in the semi or the trucking industry. And right now, that's a really valuable asset. So not only can we replace most of the manufacturing and energy uses through renewables, but then we can turn those renewables into hydrogen. And for a lot of the industry that really you couldn't pull out of the fossil fuels, we can replace with the hydrogen. So it's really a full spectrum opportunity with renewables, and then hydrogen as kind of a biofuel.
My gosh, that is absolutely exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely exciting. Wow. So talk to us about some of the projects that you are working on beyond the research, but just applications, some of the really cool applications that you have done, installations you've done around Iowa and around the country.
Well, we can mention the project that we did for the university. It was one of the largest battery energy storage and solar projects in the state at the time. So this was a really unique solar with trackers. So the solar wakes up facing east and then tracks the sun throughout the day into the evening. And it has lots of artificial intelligence involved in it. And then the batteries that we utilize are a fuel cell type. So there's a vanadium fuel cell, vanadium flow battery. And so the degradation on those batteries are virtually nil. As long as they're kept up year over year, we really don't have any degradation on the batteries. So it was a very unique full setup that we did on the university. We're actually supplying or replacing 40% of the energy needs of the university. So
I want to raise about what, 5 acres? When you go up Highway 1, it's off there in the south. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's a sea of solar panels.
Yes.
And we had to truck the energy in from a substation to the array across the campus, about 3/4 of a mile. So it was a big project, and it's a really nice showpiece for the university, the MIU. They had what attracted me to the university was the first 4-year degree in sustainability, and that's where I got my education. So coming back and being able to give them that sustainability leadership piece,
Yes.
that's such a billboard for that, was fantastic. And really it was also with a vision that we would go 100% renewable. And I still hold that vision, but we're waiting on the technology to catch up to be able to do that. We're getting closer, and especially with the vision of hydrogen, I see that that has a real potential. So when we built the array, we built it so that we could double and triple its capacity and be able to cover the university in total. So being net zero it's a big leap for such a a large energy consumer.
Yes.
But, so it takes the right technology. And I started looking at the university probably 4 years before we implemented it. So
Yeah.
even with that, we've been growing with the opportunity and really developing the opportunities until it was ripe. And we'll do that again and be able to take it to the next level. And we do that with all of our customers. So that was one example. Really what we focus on is this type of opportunity, which is the commercial and industrial. So the bigger, the more complicated, honestly, probably the more that we like it. And that's where I say, put us in a box and we'll design our way out of it. I've got such an incredible team. We all put our heads together and we're always trying to wrap our brain around some new problem scenario that we can create a viable solution for. And it's really what drives us in the industry, is being hungry to really try to find that change.
Really beautiful. So Agroplastics, I think here, long-term, blow molding plastics company. You just did a big project with them, and maybe talk a little bit about peak shaving, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We haven't talked for a year or so, and things I can see have gotten way more developed even the last time we chatted. So tell us what you did with Agroplastics.
Yeah, that was a great project. Working with Lori Schaefer-Wheaton was a pleasure. She's just such an incredible figurehead in the community. And, so we took that project on. They put us through the rigors on really verifying and validating through third-party engineering all of our numbers, which finally came to a consensus. They were very happy with us. We implemented a project that utilized the first Tesla battery energy storage system in the state. So we're a dealer for Tesla, and we utilized that technology, and we were really happy with it. They needed that quick demand of that battery, and the Tesla lithium battery gives you that. So we implemented that power pack for them, and it works off the demand. So in the state of Iowa, we actually have some of the highest demand charges in the state, and base load is maybe a couple pennies per kilowatt hour.
Right.
And the peaks that happen periodically throughout the day and throughout the month, those are actually quite expensive. They can be $20+ per kilowatt. So being able to shave off this peak actually can have a great impact on their overall energy cost. So we target those peaks that exist throughout the day. And if we can set a target, we've seen through their past history and can expect they would utilize at a max X amount. And as long as we target that amount, we can utilize artificial intelligence that's embedded into these battery energy storage projects, where we predict it'll be here, and then it'll shave across on any time that next peak will happen. So the utility company is always looking every 15 minutes. So if in fact that you can't hit them all, they can ratchet it up. So you want to try to hit all those peaks. And that's what we do. And the artificial intelligence makes sure that it's charging when it needs to, and then hitting those peaks as it can, and then reducing the overall cost. So, that's really what we've been cutting our teeth on, is this solar plus energy storage. And I'm not adhering to any particular type of energy storage. We like to test at different types. But I'll say, there's certain types that we do like and we see that are very effective with particular types of operations. But that commercial industrial, these manufacturers that want to have large, dollar savings, and they are quite considerable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was talking to our friend Roger Voorhees. He says, geez, we made a mistake and we turned on a bunch of motors at the same time and made a peak. It was like one nanosecond peak, and it cost him thousands and thousands of dollars for the rest of the month. Just that one time of breaking through the peak. So I can see how valuable it'd be to, particularly if you have artificial intelligence operating, so that you're always operating below that peak.
Yeah. It's an education for our clients, oftentimes. but also in the fact that we can do it. You know, that if they weren't already aware that they're trying to mitigate those peaks in general, because by turning on all the machinery at the same time is going to cause that massive spike, and then the utility company has to charge them for that highest peak. And it makes sense, right? Because they have to be prepared at any given time.
That's right. Cost that. Yeah, right, right.
You know, they can't just turn that on instantly. They have to be prepared with their generators running at a capacity that will give them the energy that they need. And that's that reliability. And we appreciate that. You know, there's a lot that goes into that, and you got to give them credit for having that available to us. But that's what we're trying to do for our customers as well.
That is so cool. That is great. That is great. So I got about 5 minutes left. Let's go down to actually the reason I called you the other day is I got an email saying from Ideal Energy saying, hey, we got some new technology and we got tracking things and we got great financing. And we had talked quite a while ago, a couple of occasions. You come out to the place here at 500 East Burlington. You said, you know, Bob, there's really tall trees to the west, really tall trees to the east. You know, it just, we can't even do anything on your roof. And so I just felt badly because here, Mr. Sustainability guy, I don't have solar. And so I called you and you said, well, as a matter of fact, we got different technology and we may be able to do a ground mount in your backyard. So actually I did the analysis and got you the Alliant information and hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be off to the races.
Yeah, there's a myriad of different things that have come together this year. For your place, we're looking at Tracker, which gives us, we have bidirectional panels, meaning that they have instead of having a back sheet on the panel, they actually have the cells exposed to the back. So in the wintertime, that backside is actually picking up that reflective sun, that reflective light off the snow.
Oh my God. You didn't tell me that.
Well, it's an added attribute or a gain that we can get, even if it's only 5, 10, up to 15% gain off the backside of that panel. Wow. Even if we count it as only 5, it's really good. So that advantage by collecting that energy off the back actually heats up the solar panel quicker. As soon as that cell starts running energy through it, it'll help shed any of the snow that may have collected on the front side of the panel. So it's pretty cool with that as well.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then of course we added Tracker into that. So just
having us again, a tracker tracks the sun as it goes across the sky, right?
That's correct. So it'll start off in the east and then follow the sun throughout the day to the west when it goes to bed at night. And then through the year, it's a bidirectional tracker. So it'll actually tip more towards the sun as it goes lower in the sky in the wintertime. So that bidirectional can add a considerable amount of advantage to a smaller space. So we're taking on those larger, more efficient panels to put them together into a tracker, and then, you know, gaining off the back sides, plus the ability to just grab all of that energy from that little space that you had available. Because God bless the trees, but you know, we don't build solar in the shade. It just doesn't have a whole lot of advantage. So we had to find that spot.
Yes, it was right between the main garden and the log garden, and I said I'll even lose the log garden if we have to put it there on the south side of the lot.
And you mentioned you know, that we can do this with 0% down. So we can do that with a commercial all the way down to a residential, where we can provide the opportunity for you to go have solar immediately with zero financing, $0 down on it.
Well, so here's the interesting thing. If you're employing a utility to provide you energy, when does that end?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't end. You're renting that forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
If I can get panels for $0 down and not pay as much or maybe even less, but let's say I paid as much as I'm paying now, but then when it's paid off,
it's all yours.
It is free. Yeah. And those panels, what, last 40 years or, you know, Possibly
Yeah,
more. And they're rated at what, 25, 2025?
well, the warranty is 25 years. So, when I started this company 12 years ago in our community, it was because there were a lot of DIYers in the community that had panels that were 30 plus years old, and they were still performing, right?
Yeah,
They're still out in the field.
yeah, they're still there. Lonnie's still got them, right?
Exactly. So there's the panels that we're manufacturing now are light years beyond that in the technology and the capability of lasting. So the warranty goes out now 25 plus years. They're actually starting to extend that because they're realizing that they're going to last 30 to 50 years.
Wow.
Still be doing their job. They say they degrade about 0.5% per year. So that's a potential over the years, but at they'll be at 80+% in 20 25 years.
Yeah.
So there's the technology is just solid state. It's just a passive energy collection device, turns that into energy for your home. And the advantage is you mentioned you don't have to pay the utility company that energy anymore. You're manufacturing this clean renewable energy, and that says a lot about your sustainability leadership. But it's just a peace of mind. I never get sick, one, that I don't have to pay a utility bill, and I never get sick of the feeling of producing my own clean renewable energy.
Well, on a more sober note, when Katrina hit, in 2005, the only hospital that had power in that area was a hospital with a big array.
Fantastic.
And this is a very, very serious consideration.
It should be, and we definitely have had some increased volume late because of our derecho that occurred, the high wind storm. But also just the feeling of Armageddon kind of sinking in.
Yeah.
I think everybody's feeling the need to have that security, that energy security. And it happens with the solar energy and storage. So you do need that storage component to actually have that energy security. Because it's the microgrid that we create. We isolate it within your home, and you can turn up your solar array and utilize your home as you would. And that's fantastic.
And if people are a little bit aware, they use lower energy appliances, they use LED lighting, they're just a little bit aware, maybe tighten up their storm windows and that kind of thing, you can dramatically reduce the amount of energy you need and live absolutely as comfortably as you ever did. We don't, as someone said, when you're manufacturing things, you manufacture some good product and some bad, and some stuff you have to throw away. You can't sell. And the big question is, how much do you manufacture that you can't actually sell? And the answer is none, right? Ideally, you wouldn't manufacture anything that you could just had to throw away.
Right.
And same thing with energy. Why would we use a kilowatt that we don't actually need, that we just basically throw away, that we end up paying for one way or the other?
Well, that is true. That is absolutely true. We could live in an energy abundant society, though, where I think people would be a lot more careless with their energy, just because it's so abundant.
Well, bring it on then. Yeah, I guess I was talking about the interim time when.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we can make our homes, and of course, I started our company in energy efficiency. So I would go to homes and businesses and tell them how we can optimize their opportunity to save those hard-earned dollars.
Yeah.
But I think the vision and passion that I'm inspired by is the fact that we can create this abundant world, literally 100 by 100, right? I mean, that seems so conceivable, like so possible and probable. And given the advancements of technology and building integrated photovoltaics, it'll be our roofs, our windows, our walls, our streets that we drive on. This stuff can all collect energy. And eventually you won't even see that we have solar panels. It'll just be solar collection, and it'll be happening continually. And that's really interesting, because when you have that abundance of energy, you have an abundance of opportunity. And I think that that's really the inspiration for me, because that's what's going to create that that opportunity where war just falls away. You know, when if you have just if there was just orange trees everywhere, nobody would be fighting for oranges,
Yeah, right.
right? But you know, until we hit that abundance, we will be fighting for energy and the opportunity. So it's within our grasp. It's within our technological grasp, and it starts with the individual consumer, like the decisions you're making right now, and everybody else can make that decision too. And if you can't do it at your home, then we should be fighting for that community opportunity, right?
For the community, and then arranging it such that everyone can feed off of that community. So, Troy, this has been absolutely fantastic. One final question, and that is around jobs, because I think, you know, in our fractured political times, I think the mindset a lot of people have, just like I got caught in, and I'm so glad I said what I said. You said, well, okay, that's okay, Bob. Yeah, saving energy, but what if energy was so abundant you could spill a little bit? It wouldn't make any difference because it's all, you know, it's all coming, and there's no charge for the fuel. Kind of the same thing with jobs. You know, people get in a mindset that, well, this new thing is either going to replace jobs that we need, or it's somehow, you know, not really real. I think I want you to help me communicate to everyone who's listening to this that this is where the jobs are. Your company, which is growing, is a microcosm. I mean, you didn't have anything. I remember way back when in the Go Green Plan days, you know, you were starting out your company, and then all of a sudden we hit this amazing thing where all these subsidies were there, and you went straight into solar, took advantage of that, and you have built the company and paid out, likely at this point, millions of dollars of wages, and built something that is really good jobs, you know, really good high paying jobs. So isn't that really the future of this thing? Isn't that the future of the green economy?
You know, it's not only that there's tons of jobs, there's tons of jobs in wind and solar and technological advancements that we were mentioning and talking about. It's that they're jobs that you can be passionate about. You know, and it's having that passion in the team, in the work environment. I couldn't do anything else. You know, once you've bitten off on that and you're involved in it, then you don't want anything else. So it's good jobs. These are good for the heart, good for the mind, and good for the pocketbook because they can pay well also. So there's no shortage of opportunity. This is something we have to take. It's not going to be given to us. It really needs to be worked for. When we started the company, we were the only solar company in the state operating. So, you know, we plowed the road. We had to get out and educate and really develop the opportunities. It's starting to become much more abundant. Much more awareness is taking hold. But I would not want to say that this is going to come easy. We still have to push through this.
Oh yeah, we were talking about you're working with a big oil company, and also working with and around utilities that have a 100-year-old model.
Yes.
And as you pointed out, not only have they not had to innovate for a while, it's hard for them to attract talent to innovate because the talent wants to go to the places where the meaning is. Like the talent wants to go to work for you, you know, for people like you. And that makes it doubly difficult, right?
When I stepped into the industry and went to my first conference, it was basically a bunch of guys in Birkenstocks, you know, long hair, Birkenstocks, and they were showing pictures of them standing in marijuana fields, with solar panels, a handful of solar panels. And now you go to the solar industry and it's guys in business suits, straight across the board. You know, there's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of advantages, and it's happening worldwide. You know, Iowa is really late to the game. The United States is actually late to the game, and the world is developing the new energy paradigm very, very fast.
Yep.
Not that we can't be right there in moving, right at the front of the pack, but we we need to take it. This is
Oh, yeah.
the future at risk. And
I think in our history, sometimes we have been slow to the draw in some things, but I think the history shows that when we do finally pay attention,
Yep.
we excel. And so, but I just salute you for being on that cutting edge. What do we have? 3 solar companies now in Fairfield that have that account for the bulk of the solar installations in all of Iowa, and we're a town of 10,400 people. I mean, it's just astounding.
Very progressive community. Very progressive community.
Very progressive, and it just shows, how much opportunity. If we can generate that out of a town of under 11,000 people, I mean, heck, Des Moines isn't a big city. Heck, you can put 5 of Iowa in LA. So we're the entire population. So it's amazing, isn't it?
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Really is exciting.
We're out there.
Listen, as you start early in the morning, and I appreciate you spending the 40 minutes with us, Troy. It's always a joy talking with you. And for those of you out there in Facebook land, and we'll be seeing this in archive, this is a really big deal. And we as a city are really proud of you and Amy and your whole team. I mean, it's a really shining example of homegrown ingenuity and toughness and resilience and just real significant creativity. So hats off to you.
Well, thanks, Bob. Thanks for all that you're doing and putting this out there and keeping everybody educated. I appreciate it.
There we go. Okay, Facebook friends and everyone else, we will see you later. Troy, thank you very much. We'll finish up right now on the live. See you all later. Bye-bye.